follow these 5 areas, I promise you'll lean into the following year with much more vigor, enthusiasm, excitement, hope, courage, and also this sense of, hey, possibility. We never want to bleed in to a transition. We never want to bleed into a transition. What do I mean by that? Well, bleeding into a transition is saying, okay, I'm here now, and I'm just walking into the next year. That's what we don't ever want. We want to be intentional about every transition in our life. So I'm going to go over the 5 areas that we have to focus on to make this happen. This month, December, is a gift. If you're looking at strategically your calendar and your next year, here's why I've always thought of it as a gift in the calendar, because it gives you the ability to have a head start of clarity. What do I mean by that? You have 2 choices this month. Either you wait for the month to pass and you start January 1st, just like everybody else is going to start January 1st. And then you sit down on January 1st, which I don't know if you've checked your calendar. You all probably know this. January 1st is a Saturday. All right. And New Year's Eve is a Friday night. So you sit down Saturday morning and you're like, okay, now I'm going to do like some amazing things this year. And you start on the starting line with everybody else. You start on the starting line with everybody else, or you give yourself this head start of clarity. This is the greatest gift in the calendar, because when you start what you want to do next year and you start it this month, you go from January 31st to the 1st with this momentum. Now, I can tell you this, when you start the year in momentum, you're more likely to stick to your goals. You're more likely to stick to your ambition and be more confident. And here's what else happens. Everybody else around you is like, I'm starting off this year. And guess what you've done? You've already warmed up the oven. You've already started the engine. You've already whet the appetite and you're moving. Does that mean that, hey, Ranesh, I'm going to start eating better come January, so I'm going to start that now? Well, you can put some balance into there. This is not a hard and fast thing. You can put some balance into there. But specifically speaking, I want you to give yourself a head start of clarity for next year. What does that mean? Well, that means this. It simply means get organized. Get organized. So let's talk about this a little bit. Have you printed out any of the financial reports in your business? This is the month to do it. Do not do it January 1st. Even though I could tell you, if I fast forward, I'm like, oh, you should print these out. But I'm going to tell you, now is the time. If I sat down and we went to lunch together and I asked you, hey, how many new patients did you have last year? You should know it. How much revenue did you collect last year? You should know it. What was your top 3 procedures that made you money last year in your practice? You should know that. You need to print out that production by procedure report, the production by provider report, what your hygiene did. You need to get organized on the metrics of your practice this month, this week. I want you to get a major head start, because here's what's going to happen. When you do that this month, your mind is going to, everybody's sort of the reticular activating system, where pretty much when you see a red car or you buy a red car, every car around, more red cars open up on the freeway, right? You buy a blue car, more blue cars open up around the freeway. It's your mind will look for what is in your reality. So the minute you start opening up and becoming aware of your reality, which is becoming aware of the numbers, becoming clear on where you stand, the more your mind will start naturally. It'll do this even when you're sleeping. Naturally start thinking through, what am I going to be doing next year? I want you to have that conversation with yourself on what actually worked in the numbers when you print out the numbers. What worked? You're building your brand, and it's important for you to get organized and put your cases together. Do you see the power of that one image has over your entire psychological makeup. So I want you to find those cases that you did in your practice. You're like, hey, these are the cases that I did. These are 10 of them. I loved these cases. I have 3 pictures on these cases. This is good for me to have. This is part of my portfolio. I'm going to get that organized. Awareness of important items breeds clarity of future outcomes. When you are aware of the items in your world that are important, not the noise, the important stuff, it will breed and give you clarity on future outcomes. If you're struggling with an outcome, you have to reverse engineer it. You do not have clarity on your current situation. There's no awareness there. Anytime you imbue or infuse awareness to a situation, you will automatically find ways to bring the outcome to your world. What happens is most people get stuck in the noise and the worries and all the stuff that's coming at them. They never sink into the signal of the current thing that's in their world. It is very easy to get lost in distraction through information that is not relevant to us right now. Omicron variant is out. Is it relevant to you right now? You may say, Ranesh, I don't know, we could have a shutdown. No, it's not. Because if you sat down tomorrow and you looked at your business and you looked at all your metrics and you were aware of those things, that would be enough for this moment in time. And that is the key here as you roll into 2022. So head start, I want you to start thinking that. Head start of clarity, which means I'm going to get organized. That also means your closet, your lab case increases your intelligence, decreases your level of stress, and makes you way more creative. So after you get clear and you get organized, you're like, okay, here's some of the things I can get organized. This is what I can do. I want you to sit down for 2022. I want you to create something before you do anything, before you outsource anything, before you do any of that. I want you to create focus points. Many of us don't have these. That's why we go after the next shiny object. That's why we get lost in distraction. That's why we get stressed out, because we are focusing on things that are not our points. So creating focus points means, hey, what are my focus points clinically? What are they clinically? I have a new scanner. I have a new procedure I'm integrating. I have some protocols I'm putting together clinically for the team because I've had a struggle with my team this year. So I got some protocols. What are my focus points clinically? What are my focus points in the front office? What are my focus points from a marketing standpoint? You need to have focus points. Some of you are trying to delegate before the focus points, and you are putting yourself in quicksand, because if you try to delegate something that you have no clarity around, you'll get more confusion because the other person has a different mind than you. So you have to have some clarity first. Then you delegate it out. Now their mind actually works in adjunct together in synchrony with your mind. So focus points around the clinical, the business, the benchmarks. What are you focusing on in 2021? What would that answer be for you? Just a few things. And obviously, yes, there's many things we can name in our life, whether it's, I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle, I want to lose 10 pounds of fat, or whatever it is, or I want to do more cardio, whatever that is. I'm talking about your business and your practice, and it's all kind of related, and you can use the same strategy that I'm going over here in your personal life too. But what are your focus points? So you got to ask yourself, what's a moving part that you could do less of, and focus on that, and then do the next thing, which is automate. How can you automate it? How can you automate the thing that you are now starting to focus on. So if you have a focus point and your focus point is, hey, I want to get new patients in. I want to do better with my marketing. Everything that Ranesh has reviewed with me this year, I get it. I just need to carve out time so I can do it. Okay. And if that's a focus point, how can you automate that? Now, when you look for an automation rule, you have to make it so easy because nothing gets automated if it is tough. And the best way to automate something is through either people, technology, or environment. People, technology, or environment. Who are the people that can help me do this? Maybe it's someone nearby, maybe it's someone you have to hire, but who are those people that can help me do this? Okay, maybe I don't really need a whole person. Maybe all I need is just technology because I have somebody that can do this and they can learn the technology. I'll give you an example, texting. Well, I mean, you're not going to text all your patients, but maybe your team can. And maybe every Monday you can set up the text messages for the rest of that week. How do you do it? I showed you how to do that on Sales Message, where you can just future pace or future schedule text messages on there. That's automating something that's tactical in your business. You have to automate that. I'll give you another example. Maybe some of you guys can relate. I remember years ago, my home payment was due, and I would drive down to the bank with a check, deposit it to the bank, and I would do that. I did that for like a year, guys. It's embarrassing. I'd go there with a check, deposit it. And the only reason I did it is because I never got around to syncing the bank accounts, doing this, going online, and making sure it pulls from this account. And the excuse was like, I can drive down, it's fine, it's close, it's perfect, whatever. And I did that for like a year. And then I woke up one day, I'm like, what am I doing? This is like not the best use of my time. It's an action it's a moving part. It's something I have to do every month. How come I don't just spend 30 minutes coordinating the back end? And then I don't have to do that. It automatically pulls from the bank account. And I did that. And obviously now it's not even a thing. But what I'm saying is that automation can save you and give you future time back. And if you haven't automated things in your life, like as simple as the handpiece breaks down, do you have a tub or a basket where those hand pieces go? And then somebody sends them out. And is there the address of the lab or whoever's repairing it on that thing? And is there someone designated for that? Everything that is a repeatable thing should be automated. But remember, I said you have to automate things after you have your focus points. What's more important than automation is focus points, because the focus points give you the vision and the goals and the ideals to move ahead. So you got to have, hey, head start and the clarity. You got to get organized. And then you got to say, hey, what are my focus points? What are my focus points? This is what I'm focusing on. If I'm focusing on this, then these are the things I can automate. So if you want to take your marketing, for example, and you're like, hey, I'm supposed to be creating videos for my lab cases. Okay. And you're like, man, I could do way better at that. Okay. I said there's 3 ways to automate things: people, tech, and environment. Okay. You can have one person on your team designated to make a video from your lab cases. 15 seconds. You can show them how to do that video. You can spend an hour designing and showing them how to do it, because if you do it once, they can do it. That's an hour well spent. An hour spent on an automation setup is like hours and hours and days gained in the future. Okay. There's some things that you do in your life, you spend a few hours on, you gain like just infinite amount of time back in the future. Okay. So make sure you pick that person through the people that can do it, or the tech. What's some of the tech that you can use? Maybe create a Loom video on every veneer explanation. Maybe create a Loom video on every Invisalign explanation that's 1 to 2 minutes long that your team can send to the patient that just got diagnosed with Invisalign. They send them a 2-minute Loom video going over a ClinCheck that has anterior crowding. And then there's one that has posterior. Maybe there's one that has, end-to-end occlusion. So you have 3 different Loom videos and be like, hey, send them this one. Here's a case that's similar to yours. Here's what we were able to do for you to be able to automate general case types and explain them through Loom is a huge win. And now one person, the people, can send that out via a text. Every Monday, they set up the text. Text goes out on Tuesday morning, whatever it is. That's an automation. And you're using the tech and you're using people. Now, environment. How does environment help to automate? Well, it's as simple as this. Every time you get a lab case that you know is a noteworthy case, before you even open up the case, you can say, hey, I'm going to have my camera ready. And I'm going to have somebody else here with their phone. And they're just going to take a 30-second clip of me narrating what I see. Or you can be like, I'm going to open up the case. I'm going to take a look at it. And I'm just going to give my thoughts on it. Every time I open up a case, that's what I'm going to do. You're like, Ranesh, I don't open up the cases. My team opens up the case. Well, then maybe you have a person on your team that opens up the cases that understands what they're saying clinically. Do that. The environment can also be an automation trigger, right? It's the same thing with pop-ups that happen on Dentrix that say, hey, you know what? You have to call this individual, right? So you have to create those automation sequences like that. And you have to say, hey, I have the focus points. The focus points are every Tuesday, we print out an unscheduled treatment plan report. Okay, around that, what is the automation? Well, that report's printed out every Tuesday. Every Wednesday, we come up with 5 patients from that report that we're going to do offers to, that we're going to do a bundle to. Every Wednesday, we pick our Wednesday 5. Unscheduled treatment plan report gets printed on Tuesday. The Wednesday 5, which is like the 5 people that you are going to give bundle offers to that are on the unscheduled treatment plan report, and the team calls them. But the key is this happens every week. And this is a system that you have to have in place in your practice as you move. As you have these systems in, you will become way less stressed about things, way less stressed, right? So automation is number 4. You have to think about what you can automate. People, tech, and environment can help you do that. Next, after we've done that, then we can outsource. That's the time you outsource. Outsourcing is a sexy thing because it is the definition of us not doing it. Everybody loves that. Everybody's like, oh my God, I don't have to do it. Boom, I can do it. There we go. It's outsourced. But how many of you tried to outsource something and you just fall flat on your face and you're like, man, those people said I should hire a team and outsource things. And the reason why it doesn't work is because you didn't do the other 4, which is you didn't automate the process somewhat yourself. You weren't clear on the focus points and you didn't get organized. You just didn't do that. So this entire month, I want you to think about, hey, what exactly am I going to be able to outsource next year? What is it that I'm doing? And I promise you this, if you land on this step after having done the other steps, whatever thing that you did this year and you were good at it, or you're like, I was pretty good at it. Oh my God, you'll be so much better if you outsource it effectively. Okay. You will be so much better if you outsource it effectively, because in today's world, automation and outsourcing, oh my God, it makes us look like super heroic because we're not doing the work, but we had the vision of clarity around the process, right? Now, those 5 areas, getting a head start of clarity, starting December 1st, saying, hey, I'm going to be clear on what I want for next year. I'm going to cut through the noise. What is it? I'm going to write it down. How do I want to be in my practice? Do I want to show up 5 days a week? Do I want to work 4 days a week? Do I want to work 3 days a week? Do I want to do, September 22nd, 2022 with no patient days? What is it for you? You need to have that clarity and you need to do it this month. Do not be like everybody else leaning into and starting 2022 with New Year's resolutions. I have nothing against those, but my challenge to you is, let's do those resolutions now. And how would it feel? How would it feel for you to walk the finish line of the end of this year? Not like limping through because you just came out of a battle year, but moving through with momentum, walking through with confidence. We all know when you start something with momentum, you're more capable of keeping it going. You're more capable of heading up the hills, heading down the hills, whatever that is. You're more capable of it. There's no greater feeling than momentum towards the right thing. And the landmark of the calendar, which is January 1st, gives us the opportunity to run through that finish line in such a healthy way.